Isn't that a way to stay safe? Go kill the leaders of other countries, especially people negotiating with you, which is part of their genius. And then they go bomb the facilities, the nuclear facilities, and they say, oh, they keep saying for years, oh, we got everything under control. And then a few weeks later, oh my God, we have to bomb again because it's not under control. Netanyahu is a walking disaster for the last 30 years on everything. He's created wars from Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Gaza, West Bank, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Yemen. That's all these wars raging right now. He boasts about them. He even said in his speech how he brought down the government of Syria. Excuse me, I can't use quite the language I want to use, but who are you to bring down the government of Syria?
Yeah.
Who are you to bomb Iran to the Stone Age? Who are you to decapitate the leaders of other countries? Who are you, by the way, Israel, that is not a party to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, that cheated on the international system to get its own nuclear weapons, that has no monitoring at all, and that dictates to everyone else how the world should be, and has now, not single-handedly, because it's done together with Donald Trump, put the entire world economy into a crisis.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, as I look at this, tell me if I'm wrong, I only see two outcomes when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz. One is, clearly, if this thing escalates and conflagrates, maybe somebody in Europe will go in there and try and open up, as Mr. Trump says, the Strait of Hormuz, which is going to cause a bit of a catastrophe in the region and clog it up even more, which would be horrible. The other thing that could happen is they don't, and Iran essentially stands to benefit from this. I was just looking this morning, Professor. They're charging right now $1 per barrel, and most of these ships have about 1 million barrels on board. Some have 3 million barrels. If nobody challenges them, Mr. Trump has created a situation where Iran is actually empowered. And that kind of creates a whole new dynamic in the region, which probably ends up helping the Russians and the Chinese as well. Your take?
Well, just to say, if Iran is collecting this, they need it to build back destroyed cities, because Israel and the United States have been destroying Tehran, Isfahan, and other cities of Iran. And of course, not only military facilities, but civilian infrastructure, homes, bombing people, bombing schools, killing the schoolgirls, all the rest.
Yeah.
So if they collect this, it's a small amount that they're going to need for compensation for the damages that have been done to them. In terms of what is going to happen in the region, I worry about another basic point, which is that the oil and gas fields and the pipelines and the physical infrastructure of the port facilities, all of these are absolutely open and unprotected. You don't make gas fields with anti-missile systems around them. And if the U.S. and Israel do what they say they're going to do, and if it turns out, as many analysts that know more than I do believe, that Iran has enormous capabilities, missile systems and drones remaining, and that is probably the case, which is why the straits remain closed, then we're going to see a physical destruction of the energy supplies of the Middle East, so that the strait will become maybe not the least of the issues, but semi-irrelevant. Because if the oil fields are blown up, if the pipelines are blown up, if the port facilities, if the refineries are blown up, maybe there won't be that much to ship within 4 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks. And Mr. Trump, who is really an ignoramus and a reckless, foolish man, says, oh, these wars lasted 4 years or 8 years. Yeah, what's also true is that in 4 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks, the whole world economy can be put into a multi-year, profoundly deep crisis thanks to what he's doing. That's not factored in, it seems.
Let me play something for you as well that made me think of a conversation I had with Donald Rumsfeld when I was a reporter and correspondent over at NBC. Here's the president talking about how we have achieved a military victory, in essence, already, which he keeps saying, by the way. Here it is.
Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong.
I remember once talking to Rumsfeld. You and I have been in this business long enough. I remember doing interviews, and I remember him telling me during the beginning of Afghanistan that he was hitting all of the achieved, purposed goals that they and sites that they wanted to hit. The problem he had at the time was, Rick, we don't have enough targets. We're looking for some more targets. 20 years later, that war was still going on. So this business of we're hitting all the right targets doesn't necessarily win wars, it seems to me, or at least that's what experience has taught me.
I have to say, probably I've been in this even longer than you, because I remember General William Westmoreland telling us the same thing in the 1960s in Vietnam. Of course, then when Dan Ellsberg released the Pentagon Papers and we got to read that it was blatant lying also, so it wasn't only misunderstanding, but blatant lying, we did get a little bit of a window into how narratives are made. Look, I think we can reason as follows. Again, I have to do this only listening to military experts and trying to parse out what I can parse out. But Israel leveled Gaza. It took 2 years of, I would say, genocidal action, and they don't control Gaza. They still don't control Gaza. That's 2 years of a very concentrated, small area that they still don't control it. 2 years. I remember in 1999, the ruthless, stupid bombing of Belgrade, the heart of Europe, 78 straight days. And, okay, then they got the Serbian government to reach an agreement with them, but that was 78 straight days for a very small target. The bombing of Vietnam went on for a decade. Add in Laos, add in Cambodia. The idea that 4 weeks or 6 weeks of aerial bombing of a country that has been preparing for this for decades, that is nearly 100 million people, that reportedly or purportedly has vast numbers of underground facilities, bunkers, and other kinds of military fortifications, and that is a huge land area and mountainous and therefore protected in many ways, is going to be brought to its knees in 8 weeks based on every experience of the modern world. Makes no sense. It just makes no sense at all.
Let me ask you the final question I think is important, because I know you're going to be short on time and we're going to lose you in a few minutes. But if the goal here was to get Iran to not enrich uranium, which, by the way, when I had a long conversation in Tehran with Mr. Arachi, he told me, Rick, we're not. I said, are you going to give Mr. Trump what he wants? He said, we're going to give him something better than we gave Obama. Less than 3.66 of enrichment, which is what the deal we had in the JCPOA,
yes,
as you mentioned a little while ago. But if the goal here was to get them to not enrich uranium to use it for a nuclear weapon, aren't we literally convincing them that they need to do just the opposite? That they need to be more like North Korea and less like a peaceful nation and follow the fatwa of the Ayatollah?
You would think that if there's a religious leader who says, do not have nuclear weapons, the first thing you should do is not kill him. In other words, this has been, this has been the basic point. I know it from many conversations, meeting with President Pezeshkian, meeting with the Iranian leadership for years. They have not wanted a nuclear weapon. And when they say we don't want it, the United States and Israel said, what weaklings, why don't we murder them? That's the approach. So making concessions, negotiating has gotten them killed repeatedly. Now, what is the real goal here? Of course, the real goal is political control. That's the real goal. You could call it regime change, although now that term has been so degraded and used tragically and laughably by Trump himself to mean we assassinate someone and we call it a regime change. But the point is, the U.S. wants to run Iran. Israel wants to run Iran. They did, by the way. In 1953, the CIA and MI6 overthrew the Iranian government and put in a police state. Yeah. That's what they want. So this is the whole point. They could have negotiated on the nuclear issue. The Iranians were begging them. The Omani mediator said the day before the attack, we've got a great breakthrough. The leadership of Iran apparently was meeting it with the supreme leader precisely to discuss the next steps of the negotiation. That's why they were together that day that Mossad said, they're all together, let's murder them. How clever these people in Israel and the United States. Two murder-incorporated regimes that are pushing the world to the abyss. And it's important that the rest of the world, that a few grown-ups stand up and say, no, we're not going to be pushed to the abyss.
Is this the end of hegemony or the beginning of it, based on the fact that they're now going to be charging only in yuans on crypto, say the Iranians, and they're doing everything they can to destroy the petrodollar, which isn't the petrodollar, guys like you've been saying forever, the petrodollar is like the foundation of the American hegemony, isn't it?
The foundation of American hegemony has been 750 military bases in 80 countries. Yeah. When you have the military, you occupy those countries, that you also house the CIA and other operations. That's why Bahrain, the Emirates, Saudi, they're semi-sovereign because they're host to the U.S. military. That's been the core. If a country wants its sovereignty, tell the United States, time to go home. You're not protecting us. You are almost a magnet for us being attacked. That's how to regain sovereignty.
You're one of the smartest guys out there. I thank you so much for giving us your time. You have been so gracious with your time to share it with us and share your wisdom with us, which so many people seek. So, Professor,
well, great to be with you. Let's do it again soon.
We will. Thank you so much. Two old guys talking about important things. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Well, here's what we're